can you see this person's perspective,
Right.
but can you see beyond this barrier that is in front of you right now? And we do get to that place of gratitude and actually appreciation. Now, it takes us refusing to stay in a victim mindset in order to do that.
Oh my gosh, it's time for launch date and I need it. I need it. I need it. Terry Pugh, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I think it's so adorable that we have matching glasses today.
We do. It's because we're sisters from another mister.
I know. You know, when I met you, and people ask me all the time, how did you and Terry meet? And we met through some very dark circumstances in my life. And Teri is psychic, and she reached out to me. Well, she reached out to me when my father passed, and then I thought, yeah. The second year, she reached out to me again, knowing that year number 2 might be a bear, and it was, and that's how we met.
It is. And I didn't even know you. I knew nothing about you other than we had mutual friends
Right.
on Facebook. And you, I can't say randomly or oddly or mysteriously, because it's all divine intervention, but you came, I call it people sashay through my mind, and you came through my mind one day. And I remember I was working. I thought, I need to reach out to her and just touch base with her, connect with her.
Yeah.
With no expectation of hearing back from you, of nothing. And then year 2, it was like, it's not like it was in my phone where it was like, oh, it's year 2, it's like, okay, well, all right, I'll reach out again, and there it was. So divine intervention.
It was, and grief happens and life happens. And I thought today was a really cool thing. Now, this is not some heavy topic for when life is literally falling apart. That's the topic for today. Now, this could be something as simple. If you ever have those weeks or days or moments in your life when you go, I touch it and it breaks. I drop it. I lose things. Everything is just, I'm late on things because I don't have, things just aren't together and things are not flowing smoothly. And, I always have people go, well, Mercury's in retrograde.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that, but I don't think that controls my life as much as the fact that I'm not together myself. So I thought, I wanted to throw that out there. If anybody else ever has that time when life is literally falling apart. Now, some people are in the stage where I was when I called you back in year 2, because you reached out to me with the sweetest, kindest way of, I know that you might be dealing with some stuff. And, I always say that when you've got an intuitive person who's coaching you through life, Teri was able to coach me through because she's so intuitive. But I thought, I wonder if anybody else has ever had anything like that. Well, Elizabeth is with us, and she says, I'm so glad you two connected. Look where it has gone so far. Yeah, I know, right? Candy Seaton is with us. Hi, Candy. Another sister who's been on a journey. I love that. Hello, Steve. And Angie is with us today. So glad I'm able to catch all this Wednesday. Yeah, we've been missing you, Angie. Elizabeth says, I so resemble that. Some days and weeks life is just half a bubble off plum. That is the perfect way to say it. Well, I thought we would discuss ways to get that back in kilter when you're just a little off kilter. How do we work that? How do we get that back in? Do you have a way that kind of gets you back on kilter?
It's funny because when you said, people say, Mercury's in retrograde, and I thought, girl, my whole life it's been in retrograde then. Because most of us have got all kinds of things that happen in life, right? So it's about for me personally, it's about acknowledging where I am in that moment, also recognizing it is a moment. It is a moment. And the energy that I put into that moment will likely, and I know I don't have to do the disclosure here, the disclaimer here, but I'm not talking about if you're going through, um, a loved one that's transitioning, passing away. I'm not talking about like in that moment, the next moment it's going to be okay. Because that's a
Yeah.
problem. What
Yeah.
I'm talking about is you spill the coffee in the floorboard of the car that morning. And then, you're griping and you're moaning and groaning about that because now you got coffee on your clothes and what else can go wrong? And then there's a car, an accident on the interstate and you're late. What can go wrong? And got to be careful with those seeds that you're planting, because each time you have something that, is off kilter, we can look at it as, well, this is just, ladies in a handbasket, or we can look at it and go, okay, well, this is an opportunity for me just to be in the present moment. Let me get this cleaned up. And I'm one of those wackadoodle yahoodles that I always say, if I am delayed or stopped by something, it's because something further down the road was a blessing for me to avoid.
That's always in my mind when things like that start to happen. Joyce joins us. Hi, beautiful girls. Happy to be with y'all. And Lisa Richard. Lisa is with us. Where are you? There you are. Hello, hello, hello. And Lisa joins us. Lisa Franklin, who's with us.
It's always watching us on replay, so I'm excited she's with us.
I am too. I always see hashtag replay. And Jamie's with us. Hi, Jamie. Corinne says, Corinne is so funny. Your way of putting things. There were times over the past 3 years my handbasket overflowed.
Right.
Oh, I love that. Well, Joyce has some things that she does. Spend some time alone with just myself, no radio, no people talking, and I feel so much better after 3 to 4 hours loving my own personal time. I think that. Elizabeth says, I used to be so devastated when those little things went wrong. I think it was my program that helped me learn that it's about progress, not perfection. Those things in life don't derail me as much anymore.
And that's the thing. There's always contrast in life, right? So if we're going to have a basket full of yumminess, we can guarantee that there's going to be the opposite contrast of that is a basket full of some ink. It doesn't mean that it's just life-altering. It just means, yeah, you might have a day where, or a moment or whatever, where things are just fantastic. And then, you hit traffic, or you're going to, spill something on you, or your dog's going to be sick and puke when you're trying to walk out the house. And those are not life-altering things that should by any stretch of the means cause us to just want to crawl in bed and put our pillow over our head, and either go to sleep or press really, really hard. Like neither one of those should be in the place where it's too much. How it gets to be too much is when we continually well, this is happening, and now this is happening. Well, what else in the world can happen? Well, don't ask that question, because if you're programming your brain to look for the problems, your brain is going to be a good steward of that challenge, and it's going to find the problems. So you're going to look past oodles and oodles and oodles of yumminess, sweetness, goodness, all of these things, and the brain's going to find the problem.
Well, I started putting together my way of moving through it, and I realized that so much of it came from you, and they all three start with an R. I start doing an inventory of my one thing. The first thing is rest. Am I deficient in rest? Because when you are tired, you're not, people talk about driving under the influence. Driving under the influence of exhaustion is dangerous. It's driving while drowsy, driving while exhausted, decision-making while exhausted. Not good. preparing, things like that. So rest is the first R. Rest is the first R. The second one is routine. Start creating a block of routine. Put your keys in the same place. Set your alarm and get up and create, even if you have to put it on a list for a few days, to say, okay, I'm going to get my routine down. This is the day I do laundry. This is the day I do this. So it's not all, I start bringing things in. So rest, routine. And the third one is what you're just talking about. Recall every time in your life that you have survived this kind of set thing. Whether it's, you know what, I'm still here. I never got killed because I was late. I'm still alive. I'm still here. I'm still breathing air, and I didn't have all bad days. So rest, routine, and recall that's the 3 R's that I put together to get myself out of that. And, and I would love to say that self-care is part of it. Sometimes it's just a nap.
Absolutely. And also, I think we might have said this last week, self-care. I was having a conversation with a good friend, Amy, of mine, and we were talking about how self-care, the word self-care, self-love, and I use the word self-kindness often. Self-care, self-love particularly, we're just saturated with that. It's become so much now that, when people hear self-care, they're like, oh, self-care again, but yes, sometimes self-care is turning the phone off. Sometimes it's stepping away from the work. Sometimes it's putting your toes in the grass. Sometimes it's feeding the birds and watching them or listening to the birds chirp. Sometimes you're absolutely right, Devon. It is kicking the shoes off and laying down and taking a nap. Like, it doesn't have to be this commercialized thing that we do. Sometimes it's, if you open up the refrigerator and you have a whole pizza, or you have, some salad or some greens, sometimes it's choosing the salad or the greens instead of the whole pizza.
Exactly. That's another thing. Nutrition plays a really big part of it.
Yeah.
I was just talking to a friend of mine, and she was going through a really blue moment. And I said, for me, I have to really check my sugar at that time. I said, have I done the intake on sugar? Maybe because I don't normally do sugar or a lot of it. And then some days I go, okay, eat the donut. And I can tell, because if I do, I pay for it in my mood, my depression, whatever, albeit not just health, but I feel it when I do something wrong. And things like green leafy, I always said, oh, I need some green leafies, because I can just put things right back in order with some dark greens, and it comes on. Candy says, it used to make me feel frantic when stuff happened like that, but I've learned that it means I should be thankful for the interrupt. I love that phrase, thankful for the interrupt, because it's stopping me from something that may be really bad, that my angels are protecting me from. I love that.
Like you said, it's the content. It's the making the choice, because when it boils down to it, at the end of the day, it's all about choices.
Lisa, who's in Halifax, we've had a wild week of devastating fires here in Nova Scotia, sending blessings to all directly affected. It's been a heavy week, so needed to hear this. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not just losing our keys. Sometimes we really are weighed down. I know in Nashville, the Covenant shooting was heavy, and no one is over it. No one is over it.
No. And to that point, what Lisa's sharing, sometimes those things are larger. They're larger than the spilling coffee on the floorboard. But what is the same is being mindful of the surroundings that you're in. Are you like, I worked with a lot of folks through the Covenant and I'm still working with folks around that. And some folks are like, well, I'm Googling and I'm looking and I'm watching all the news and I'm talking to people and we're trying to figure out and and I'm like, okay, so your peace isn't in that. Your peace is not in that.
Oh, that's huge. Did y'all see your peace is not in that? Remember that as we look through that. That's one of those things. I go, there's some things that Teri says, it goes whoosh, and it looks like one of those movie special effects things on the words. They kind of come out and get highlighted. Your peace is not in that.
Yeah, we won't find the peace in that. Now, curiosity, answers. A lot of times we fool ourselves by thinking the answers give peace. The answers more questions. Either. It's just that you have to be aware of, are you saturating your body, mind, your spirit with things that are going to support that peace of mind, that increasing your peace is, or are you saturating it with things that are going to leave you feeling more disheveled?
Very, very, very good. Corinne says, I can't imagine what y'all are going through right close up. The smoke is in my city from those fires that Lisa was talking about in Canada. Buffalo is where Corinne is, praying for y'all. I love that. I love how our group brings us together from all our different areas. Jamie says, okay, I know we're going to get a reframe on this. Love me some naps. Call them my little old lady naps. Which is funny and cute and adorable. You going to reframe?
Well, I mean, I guess if you're 2 foot tall and you're 90 years old, they are little lady naps. I reckon they are. But no, I mean, I do. I totally get where she's coming from with that because, yeah, I mean, I think taking a little self-care nap, a power nap. I mean, I don't know what happened. We got out of preschool and kindergarten and suddenly naps are a bad thing.
That's where I was going with it. It's not little old lady naps. Maybe it's my kindergarten. It's my little nap. It's my little's nap. It's taking care of that little inside us. It used to be mandatory after lunch to get your little nap, your little pallet, and lay down on it for a little while.
Well, culturally, some cultures still do that.
Spain, I mean, my gosh.
Culturally, there's a lot of folks out there in the world that go, well, it's time to take a nap. It's time to rest.
Siesta.
Yeah, maybe you don't go to sleep, but maybe you just sit down and you give your brain permission to just slow its row just a little bit. Because when we take time to recharge, then we ultimately have time to do all those things we want to do. When we don't give ourselves time to recharge, we run in a deficit. We're depleted, and then start self-loathing and talking smack about, we're not good enough because we can't keep up with this. And no shade on any Joneses out there, but we can't keep up. We can if we take care of ourselves, and also knowing that what you're saying yes to. Yeah. Sometimes saying no is your self-care, because if you're saying yes to everything, you're not giving yourself a benefit of being able to step away from that. And then what happens? You get the traffic, you get the spilled milk, you get all of the things that happen. And then the brain gets in the pattern of this is normal, this is regular, this is life. And it's like, no, it's not life. It's just a morsel of life. There's so many other goodnesses out there in our daily, if we see it. Most of us wake up in the morning. I'll say most of us, I guess, if we wake up in the morning and our eyes are functioning, maybe a little blurry or whatever, maybe you got some floaters, I don't know. But if your eyes are blurry or working, your lungs are working, your first thing you do is get up and go to the bathroom. Well, then your internal systems are working, your heart is beating. You've already started off. You've got that's a 5-star morning right there, right out of the gate. Even if you're 15 minutes late for work, look at all the pluses that you've got working on your side. Now, I know that can sound like, oh my God, that's that toxic positivity. Yeah, maybe. But the fact is, there are things in every pocket to be grateful for. Are you gonna, the older we get, are we gonna have some aches and pains? Sure. Yeah, we are. The older our car gets, there's some stuff that has to be repaired on that too. That's life. That is life. But there are things that we can do, our mind particularly, that can help us reframe so that we're not trying to demolish the whole wall, but we're tapping out those little bricks that are maybe cracked and aren't working, and we're putting in new habits, new thoughts, new behaviors to support that wall so that we are our best version of ourselves, understanding that sometimes our best version is going to be 110 and other times our best version is going to be -3, and both of those are okay depending on what our situation and circumstances are in the moment.
I love it. Elizabeth says, I don't need to go to a fancy, expensive spa to find ways to nurture myself when I'm in need of some self-care. And I love Corinne. No, pizza all the way. Oh my God. You just, you are so funny. Candy says, sometimes me kindness, it's just getting a cup of coffee and sitting outside in the morning to feel the sun on your face and listen to the birds. I agree. I was really paying attention to the birds today because just before the show, I was getting the show ready, and it's been a weird day. I mean, computer wise, I've got a lot of static in my body. And so things were firing off without me even touching the computer. Every now and then I'm like a superhero. I mean, static girl, and I swear I could make things happen across the room just with the static electricity. And I was laughing. I was telling the girls in the office, and they said, well, yeah, because your hair, it was like I had touched one of those balls at the Adventure Science Center. It was crazy. And sometimes it's just like that. And that's where, when things are literally falling apart, and it's stuff that sometimes, the thing that if you can find the laughter in it, I find that when you have enough rest, most of the time those things don't happen. And if you have a routine, something as simple as when I come in, I hang my keys in the same place. Put my keys in the same place. Don't my keys in my bag, same place. If you do that, then it stops all the other stuff. Because there's always a little, I lost my keys. I couldn't find my keys. Then I couldn't find my bag. Then I couldn't find my shoes. A routine, lay out what you're going to wear the night before. If you really want to get into your routine, create that. And it's like, I have no confusion.
And even when you do have that confusion, be okay with the fact that, if you lost your keys and then you found them. Now, riddle me this. What makes more sense? You lose your keys and then you find them. So we're going to spend the next 23 hours moaning and groaning because we lost our keys, or we're going to spend time being grateful that we found them.
Well, I told somebody that had lost their keys. I said, pray that prayer of St. Francis. And I went this whole thing. Okay, here's the prayer and blah, blah, blah. Well, she found her keys. And my mom says, isn't it the prayer of St. Anthony? And I said, oh, yeah. She prayed to the saint of animals.
But it worked.
But it worked, So it lets me know that I go, okay, whatever. I love that everybody's my piece is not in that. Lisa and Elizabeth, thank you guys for putting those things up there. We're talking about some of the dark things. The same with the Buffalo Massacre a year ago. Concentrate not on the horrible act, but how can we be better than before?
Absolutely.
And Candy said, stop watching the news. Stopping watching the news gave me a whole lot of peace.
And
And if a story gets by you and someone says, don't you know about blah, blah, blah?
Girl, that happens to me all the time. I mean, working as a grief specialist, I get phone calls before stuff sometimes even comes out on the news, and they're like, what do you think about this? And I'm like, well, I didn't know about it till you just told me, and I've had people say, well, this is great. Actually, I think I might've said this a few weeks ago during the covenant thing. I actually had somebody say to me, well, this is great for you, right? And I thought to myself,
what?
I said, no, actually, I don't live to do this work so that I don't look forward to other people's pain. That's actually probably one of the most sickest things I've ever heard anybody say. However, am I a conduit? Am I a vessel? Am I doing this work because I was chosen to do it? Yes. So when you hear, like when we have those things, like Candy was saying, turn the news off. Sometimes, I mean, we can turn the news off and that's great. But let me just tell you this. If you turn your TV off, that's wonderful. I don't watch the news. but I am on Instagram and I am on Facebook. So I can assure you that the minute that it crosses the radio airwaves or the television airwaves, there are in the world millions of people posting it immediately to be the first person to break the news on their feed. And then it goes like wildfire. So we're never going to not see the news as it comes up. Now if there's a spaceship overhead or some kind of crazy alarms going off and, something earth shattering, I'm trusting that I'm probably going to get some kind of alarm on my phone that says, hey, take cover.
Yeah. This has happened. Yeah.
Yeah. But we have to be mindful that, even when people say, like when that person, was like, oh my gosh, this happened, because that's actually how I heard about the Covenant shooting, was someone reached out to me and said what they said. And I was like, my brain was still spinning around the fact that they had shared that there was a shooting in a school here in Nashville. And I was just like, whoa. And immediately I had to make the executive decision of, do I research this or do I sit with it and monitor, I say parameters, guards, boundaries up around what I start to take in, because some news is never good news, so you have to know, again, are you going to be feeding that and are you going to be, when people are like, girl, did you hear la 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 la, and people are like, oh yeah, I heard la la, and what about no, and you've got to err on the side of peace of mind. And also, if you don't have the facts, then don't start sharing, because if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem at that point, so being mindful too that, I would never call you up and go, Devon, and just unload something on you, because one, I don't know what kind of day you're having, right? So you be respectful when you're engaging with people like that, and just to find out where people are, especially in the world that we live in.
You are so right. Elizabeth shares, the last few years I've made a conscious decision to surround myself with others who have positive outlooks on life. And if that does not mean toxic positivity, I know what she's talking about, positive outlooks. It doesn't mean upset, sadness, frustrations don't happen. It just means my circle of friends doesn't let each other do pity parties. It's made a huge difference in me.
Absolutely.
And really good. A lot of countries know that naps during the day are healthy. Yes, that's true. And I love this from Jamie. I think your peace is in your perspective. I think that's a brilliant line right there. Elizabeth's agreeing in that. Yeah, we started talking and I'm, oh my gosh, you guys are just like all up in this day. Okay. Elizabeth says, I don't watch the news anymore. Happens all the time. If it's important, I'm sure I'll see it on social media.
Yeah.
Corinne, I watched several major news stations. I laugh. I can predict what each was going to feature. None of what is news. That's the truth. Yeah.
Well, the most interesting thing that I remember one time, and I don't remember what channel it was, and even if I knew, I wouldn't say, just because there's only a few channels here in Nashville. But I remember watching the news one time, and this was when I decided it was time for me to not watch it anymore. I don't remember what happened, like what big heartbreak story happened, but literally they ended it, or they gave the story, and then the anchor person said, just heartbreaking. Well, we can expect some rain clouds to move in over the weekend. And I was just, what the hell kind of transition was that? We just went from what you just laid out, which was just gut wrenching, whatever that was. I don't remember right now, to just kind of like, well,
there's going to be rain. Take an umbrella, wear a sleeve.
The sun's going to come out on Sunday, and I get it that's the flow that our brains sort of like ding ding, brains are ding. But it was alarming to me how quickly I'm not saying sit and stew in something, but I am saying how quickly. That's why people get, people joke about having ADD and ADHD, but that's the bright and shiny or the buzz or the this or the that. That's how our brains are trained to go.
Mhm.
I'm not going to process that because something else is happening.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Angie says, I've stopped watching a lot of TV. If it were for Facebook, I wouldn't know a lot that's going on. Just learned about the fires in Canada yesterday. Um, and that's true. That's what happens. Candy says, right, Terry, I hear about it other ways. So if it's big, I'll look into them. Perry Armstrong joins us from Rugby in North Dakota. Um, Steve says, it's nap time. I like it. Perry says, I only watch the news infrequently to see what they're lying about now. Is that no soul, no empathy. Now, I will say, being a part of the media, is that the job is to get the news out. But I think that it becomes very difficult when you are the deliverer of that news and you've got a certain amount of time and you have to cover all the bases and you have to do the things for your job. And sometimes I will tell you, that is a heavy weight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I live with it. I live with it on a regular basis. I go, how do I cover this? How do I impart this? And you're not supposed to do it you're supposed to just the facts, ma'am, just the facts. And I can't do it. Makes me a horrible newspaper person. I can't do it.
Well, and I think some people maybe some people are good with that. Some people are like, I can take in everything, I can process everything, and I do think that there are good components to the news.
Mm-hmm.
We're not getting off on a political thing here about all that other stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Or, that's unzipping your consciousness and just going, okay, get in here and just poop all over everything. I'm just saying, like, you have to sort of put the net up in front of what you're taking in, and also take things in, understanding that, our thought processes are going to determine next moves for us, because the brain is looking for that. Now, that doesn't mean if you get up and you're singing, Walking on Sunshine or whatever that song.
One of my favorite songs. I love that song. That's one of my.
It doesn't mean that if you get up and you're singing that and you're tootling through the house and you're like, I'm having the best day ever, that you're not going to hit traffic. You are, but you can either go, radical acceptance. It's traffic. Or, oh my gosh, it's traffic. Now I'm going to be late. This stinks. I'm stuck in traffic. I'm on the interstate. This traffic sucks right now. And then you've got feed people like going, oh my God, Nashville stinks. Traffic sucks. So you're putting out a big old heap and pile of steamy poop, and all the poop flies are flying to it and they're adding to it. And the next thing you know, it's, well, darn. Now I've read all these things that these people have, which, I mean, this is what somebody would say. I've read all these things that people have put on there, and now I'm even more enraged that I was in traffic and la, 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 la. And then all of a sudden it just spirals, and it's traffic, people. It's Nashville, fade in, fade out, 30 years. We're a little Atlanta now. It's traffic. It's going to be there. It's going to be there today. It's going to be there tomorrow. It's going to be there the day after that. It's here to stay. So I'm not force yourself to love it. I'm saying just, acknowledge the fact that things change and we got traffic now.
Right.
So.
Well, if you don't like it, go to a place that they say that the interstate took all the traffic and diverted away from us and it killed our town. Go to a place with no traffic and see how you like that. And we go, you would love that?
I would love going somewhere where there's no traffic. I love going to Indianapolis, where my daughter lives, because Indianapolis is like Nashville was 30 years ago. Yeah. It's huge. There's more people, but they don't have the traffic. But I also don't make a point. I don't have to. So there's some privilege to this. I don't have to get out and get to a 9-to-5 job, and I don't have to take 24, 65, or 40. My office, 12 minutes from my house, and I can take all back roads. So the biggest hassle that I have are 2 railroad tracks I usually hit those if I time them just right, and 2 school zones. And that's it. So, and if I like those, guess what? There's another route I can take.
Perry says visit him in Rugby, North Dakota. They have no traffic. Candy says when I'm in traffic, I just take a breath and say, I'll get there when I get there. I love that. And Elizabeth says with a positive mindset, an emotional response to something happening doesn't slap me in the face as hard.
Absolutely.
Elizabeth, so blessed. My office is wherever my ass is currently sitting.
Well, I have a playlist on my phone too, that when I do get stuck by the train,
yeah,
I put on Marvin Gaye. I put on put the lime in the coconut or whatever, that song. I mean, I've got a lot of really fun songs, and I sing them, and they make me feel happy, and I feel good. And it doesn't bother me that a train is taking some food or something somewhere so that somebody's life gets to go on. Yeah. So, okay. It's a train. That track is there. I'm going to run the risk of meeting that train on its territory, or I can go the other direction.
There are some things that I have added to my life that I have Audible on. I never have enough time to read. And then I just discovered that I could get $9 a month on Audible, and I can download a new book and I can listen to those books. And sometimes I'll sit in my car in my driveway and finish a chapter just because I don't want to quit. Not thinking that, well, I've got a cell phone. I mean, it's not like I have to turn it off. I'm sitting right here.
But sometimes it's nice just to have. Now, see, that is an example, Devon, of self-care. Sometimes it's nice just to have that peace and quiet, no distraction, and letting someone read a book to you while you're just sitting, and a car seat, whatever it is. If you're in your lounge chair outside, it's supporting your body, and you're just sitting and allowing yourself to take a few minutes out of the day without a ton of distractions. That is ultimate self-care.
It is. Amy. Hi, Amy. Amy says, I just say it will pass, and it's good as I watch people holler in their car.
Well, it is a matter of fact, Amy is the one that we were talking about self-care, that buzzword being oversaturated this week. So
Jackie says, I do dance parties like nobody's watching, only they are. Because I'm in a car.
Right.
I do my car dance too. I mean, I will say that. I mean, I'm grooving. Yeah.
I love it. And as a matter of fact, on my way to the office this morning, I was car dancing at a red light, and I just happened to look over, and the woman next to me just waved at me and smiled. And I thought, well, you know what? If that brightened her day, I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled for her,
Perry says you could be writing while sitting with no distractions. See, there's also that too. Perry's a wonderful poet, and he does beautiful work. Well, that's our show for today. We've gone a little bit over, but you guys are so much of what we do. This is our little group meeting every week around noon. The noon hour on Wednesday is all about launch date, opening up those heavy suitcases for a lighter way of being. I'm just so glad. If you got an idea for a show, devonoday@gmail.com.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And before we close today, just to circle back around, if you are having those moments where nothing seems to be going right, it's not about trying to talk yourself out of it, but just recognize that it's really just a moment. And if you can just breathe through it and you can sit with it. Emotions have a lifespan of about 90 seconds. And I know I've said this before, and my clients are like, oh, here she goes again with those 90-second lifespans. But emotions have lifespans of about 90 seconds. And if you think of it like this, when an emotion comes in, it's the equivalent of a wasp or a bee. You'll see them come in. They'll come into they'll be in your peripheral. Suddenly they're in your face, right? It's uncomfortable because it's like an emotion that you don't particularly want to experience. And if you can sit with it and remain calm and breathe through it, in about 90 seconds, your brain will shift into something else. Now, if you start swatting at that wasp or that bee, odds are it's going to occupy your time and it's going to sting you. So those, be mindful of how much energy you're giving to the very thing that you say you don't want.
That was the lift of the heavy. That was awesome. Jackie says, practice the pause. And she put little pause. And that's
Yeah.
true. That is. And I take a real quick inventory of, well, could I rest more? Maybe I need to eat because if maybe I'm a little on the low blood sugar side. I mean, I take a little quick inventory. Is this every day or is this just today? Or is this just right this moment? What do I need in this moment?
And you know what, Devon? We can do an adult inventory. What do I need in
Mm.
this moment? I need to be away from this person that's screaming in my face. I don't like this. We can also do a littles inventory when we find that we feel just a little disjointed. I remember
Mhm.
asking a client one time, what is it that we were having a virtual session? And I said, what is it that you need right now? And the answer was, I don't know. And I said, okay, now close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, check in with yourself. And we had done extensive work around the littles, and they answered back and they said, I need a snack and I need a hug. And I said, is there anyone in the house that can give you a hug? And they said, no, but my kids will be home from school in about 30 minutes. And I said, okay. I said, could you ask for a hug then? Absolutely. Perfect. Now about that snack. I said, can you go in the kitchen? I'll go in the kitchen and get one when we're done with session. And I said, nope, just take your computer or your phone, or I'll wait. Go in there and get you a snack. So they went to the kitchen. They came back with some snack. I feel bad about eating while we're talking. I said, I don't, because it's going to put you in a different mindset. And so they had a little snack. We finished our session, and the energy in that person was so different because they fulfilled what they needed without saying, well, no, I don't want to do that because it'll upset the apple cart. No, get you a snack, And
Mhm.
so checking in with our adult self, checking in with our littles,
Mhm.
see what it is that we need. Because sometimes we're going to need a snack. Sometimes we're going to need a hug. Sometimes we just need it to be quiet.
Mhm.
And then you might not in certain times be able to create it right in that moment, but create a blueprint to have it in the very near future.
Yeah, what's causing the stress now? What's
Yeah,
causing the stress today?
right.
And it's amazing when you can narrow that down and figure that out and go, and what you need. What do I need in this moment?
Mm-hmm.
And that need goes to all those little nesting dolls of littles that are within us.
And when you yourself go, what do I need in this moment? And then immediately what comes back is, I don't know what I need.
Mhm.
Or you're 40. So just, what do I need in this moment? What would help me feel better right now?
There's this precious little reel that I saw. It was a little girl. She walked over and there was a little boy pouting. They're probably in the 3-year-old range. And he was just pouting. And she says, what's wrong? Do you need a hug? And he said, no. How about a gentle hug? She just opened her arms and he kind of comes over and just lays his little head on her shoulder and she hugs him and she goes, feel better now? And it was the sweetest thing. And
Ah,
I'm going, that is, what about a gentle hug?
right.
And sometimes we just need a gentle moment. And that's what we try to be every single day for every single week when you guys meet with us. And um, Teri, I want you to take us home because you always make me feel better. Sometimes you hear, oh, wait a minute. Amy says, I've been working hard on actually expressing my needs out loud. I know, but sometimes that little girl nudges me. Hey, it's okay to say it. Love it.
Ab-
Love it. Love it.
Absolutely.
Oh, and my Janie's checking in. She's another one of my sisters. I tell you what, loved this. So Janie, I'm so glad.
Yes, yes. Well, as always, we appreciate each and every one of you sharing with us and being transparent and vulnerable and funny and being real, whatever that is in the moment for you. And we're so glad that you choose to share your time and your energy and your thoughts with us. And as we always close, until we see you next week, please do your very best to be cognizant of the moments and make them memorable, and also increase the peace in your mind, your body, and your soul.
Good, 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 good. Bye, you guys.
Bye, everyone.